The battle had already been lost. Everyone in the alien defense fleet knew it, even if no one said the words out loud. The fleet floated near a dead star, its cold light barely touching the damaged ships. Hulls were cracked. Engines flickered on and off. Weapon systems were almost empty. Long ago, this place had been chosen as a safe rally point. Now, it felt like a grave. Admiral Kether stood on the command bridge of the flagship, staring at the main screen. The enemy armada filled the void, row after row of massive warships, dark and sharp like blades. They moved slowly, confidently, closing in from every direction. They were not rushing. They knew there was no escape. Around the bridge, officers worked in silence. Fingers moved across panels. Eyes avoided each other. There was no panic anymore. Panic had passed hours ago. What remained was something worse, quiet acceptance. A junior officer finally broke the silence. Long-range channels, she asked, her voice low. Another officer shook his head. Still nothing. No signal. No reply. They had sent distress calls again and again. To nearby systems. To old allies. To anyone who might still listen. Each message had gone unanswered. Space swallowed them whole. Admiral Kether closed his eyes for a moment. Then he straightened. Send the final report to the council, he said. Tell them, we held as long as we could. The message was short. There was no point in making it long. All across the fleet, similar scenes played out. Crews gathered near windows, staring into space. Some held hands. Some whispered old prayers. Others sat alone, helmets resting on their knees, breathing slowly as if calm could delay the end. Enemy ships began powering their weapons. Red and blue light spread across their hulls like glowing veins. Energy readings spiked on every sensor. They're preparing to fire, an officer said. No one responded. Time stretched. Seconds felt heavy. Even the hum of the ship seemed louder now, like it was trying to remind them it was still alive. Then something strange happened. A low alert sounded, not sharp, not urgent. Confused. Sensors picking up a distortion, the navigation officer said. Far edge of the system. The enemy armada did not react. Neither did the fleet commanders at first. Space was full of strange readings. At the end, nothing mattered anymore. But the distortion grew. It's expanding, the officer continued. This isn't natural. Admiral Kether stepped closer to the screen. Can you identify it? The officer hesitated. No known signature. No known drive type. The distortion twisted space itself, like an invisible wound opening slowly. Light bent around it. Sensor data became unstable. Enemy ships finally noticed. Their formations shifted. Weapon charging paused. What is that? Someone whispered. The distortion deepened, and from within it came a sound. Not through speakers. Not through air. Through space itself. A deep, rising vibration. A howl. The bridge fell completely silent. This can't be a ship, an officer said. There's no way something that large could. The howl grew louder. Stronger. It carried power. Intent. Enemy commanders began issuing frantic orders. Their once perfect formation broke slightly, like predators sensing something bigger than themselves. Then, slowly, a shape began to emerge from the distortion. Massive. Dark. Impossible. Hull lines unlike any known species. Engines glowing white-hot, screaming as if forced into real space by sheer will. A single word appeared on the alien flagship's display, translated automatically by ancient systems. Human. No cheers came from the trapped fleet. No relief. Only stunned silence. Because whatever was arriving was not gentle. It was not careful. And it was not late. It was angry. As the human warship fully emerged, the void shook, and for the first time since the battle began, the enemy hesitated. The silence before the end had broken. Something far worse had arrived. The human warship hung in space like a dark moon, blocking the line between the trapped defense fleet and the enemy armada. It did not drift. It held position with perfect control, as if the void itself listened to it. Admiral Kether stared at the screen, unable to speak. He had heard stories about humans, old rumors passed through trade routes and broken alliances. Some called them brave. Others called them reckless. Many said humans had vanished from the wider galaxy long ago. But this ship was real. And it was not hiding. The enemy armada reacted first. Their flagship flashed with command signals, and a wave of smaller attack craft poured forward like insects. The alien defense fleet braced, expecting the final strike to come even harder now. A tactical officer on Kether's bridge swallowed. They're going to fire on the human ship. Let them, Admiral Kether said, though he did not know why those words came out. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the strange feeling that this was no longer their battle. The enemy ships opened fire. Streams of plasma and energy bolts crossed the void in a bright storm. The trapped fleet sensors screamed warnings. Impacts were expected within seconds. But the shots never reached the human warship. They vanished. Not deflected. Not absorbed. Simply erased, as if space decided those attacks were not allowed to exist. On the enemy side, confusion spread. Their first volley stopped. The attack craft slowed, their pilots uncertain. Another wave of fire followed, heavier this time, enough to crack a planet's shield. Again, the void swallowed it. A low sound rolled through space, deeper than before. The howl was not just engine noise. It felt like a message without words, "You cannot touch me." On the alien bridge, one of the officers whispered, "What kind of defense is that?" No one answered. No one could. Then the human warship moved. It did not turn like normal ships. It shifted. Like a predator adjusting its stance. Its engines flared, and space around it bent slightly, as if the laws of motion were being negotiated. Enemy formations tightened. Their flagship launched a signal pulse, possibly a warning, possibly a threat. The human warship did not reply. Instead, a thin beam of light extended from its underside, scanning the trapped defense fleet. It swept across damaged hulls, leaking airlocks, flickering life support. Admiral Kether felt exposed, like someone shining a lamp over a wounded animal. Then the human ship broadcast a single short message on open channels. The translator struggled, but the meaning became clear. Status. That was all. One word. Kether's communications officer looked at the admiral, waiting for permission. Admiral Kether hesitated only a second. Send them our condition. Tell them we are out of fuel and out of options. The response was sent in plain code. No pride. No speeches. Only truth. For 3 long heartbeats, the human ship said nothing. Then a second message arrived, calm and flat. Hold. The trapped defense fleet did not understand what to do with that word. Hold what? Hold position. Hold hope. Before anyone could ask, the human ship fired. A line of blue-white energy cut across space like a blade. It did not explode. It did not scatter. It stayed perfectly focused, carving through the first enemy cruiser and then the next, as if both were made of paper. 2 enemy ships broke apart in silence, halves drifting away. Their internal lights died a second later. The enemy armada froze. Then chaos exploded through their command network. Their ship spread out, trying to avoid being lined up again. Fighters rushed forward. Heavy cannons began charging. Defensive shields flared in a desperate glow. The human ship's engines howled louder, and the warship surged forward. It moved straight into the enemy line, not dodging, not weaving, not acting like a ship that feared damage. Enemy fire returned, thousands of shots at once. This time, the attacks reached the human warship. They hit its hull, and slid off. Some bent away at impossible angles. Some broke apart mid-flight. A few struck hard enough to light the armor, but the damage was shallow, like sparks against stone. The human ship was not just protected. It was built to endure. Admiral Kether watched, stunned, as the human warship pushed deeper, engines screaming, weapons charging again. Its presence forced the enemy to back away, as if they suddenly remembered what fear felt like. On the human ship's hull, faint markings became visible under the glow of its power lines. Old symbols. Old battles. Names of wars that were not recorded in any modern archive. The enemy flagship shifted position, pulling back behind its escorts. A new energy reading spiked, strange, unstable, forbidden. "They're charging something big," Kether's tactical officer warned. "Something we've never seen." Admiral Kether's eyes narrowed. And the human ship? The sensors showed the human warship charging as well. A massive weapon, deeper than any standard cannon, pulling energy from somewhere that did not make sense. The void around it darkened. The howl rose into a roar. And then the human ship spoke again, quiet but clear. "You chose the wrong night." The enemy flagship released its weapon. And at the same moment, the human warship fired its main gun. Space turned white. The white light faded slowly, like a wounded star losing its strength. When sensors came back online, the battlefield no longer looked the same. Where the enemy flagship had been, there was now only broken fire and drifting metal. Its forbidden weapon had torn itself apart, unable to control the energy it released. The human warship still moved forward, its hull glowing from heat but intact. Across the trapped defense fleet, stunned silence filled every bridge. They survived that," someone whispered. Admiral Kether did not answer. His eyes were locked on the human ship. Deep scars marked its armor, but the structure held strong. Internal systems continued to burn bright. It looked less like a machine now and more like a force of nature that refused to fall. The enemy armada panicked. Command signals overlapped. Formations broke. Ships turned in different directions, unsure whether to attack or flee. Some fired wildly. Others powered their engines, trying to escape the system. The human warship did not chase them yet. Instead, it slowed. That terrified the enemy more than any weapon. New hatches opened along the human ship's sides. One by one, smaller shapes launched into space, sleek, sharp drones moving with deadly purpose. They did not rush forward. They spread out calmly, like hunters taking their time. "These are not fighters," Kether's tactical officer said quietly. "They're something else." The drones activated, and the void filled with sudden precision strikes. Enemy communication ships were hit first. Relay nodes vanished in silent flashes. Command ships followed, cut down before they could warn others. The enemy was being blinded. Then the human warship spoke again, its message calm and without emotion. "This battle is over." The enemy did not listen. A group of cruisers charged together, forming a tight wall of shields. Their weapons glowed as they fired everything they had left. The combined blast rushed toward the human warship like a storm. For the first time, the human ship braced. Energy fields flared around it, thicker and brighter than before. The impact shook space itself. Even Admiral Kether felt the vibration through his own ship. When the blast cleared, the human warship was still there. Its shields dropped instantly. That was the moment the enemy realized something was wrong. The human ship was no longer defending. It was preparing. Deep inside its hull, ancient systems awakened. Long-unused weapons rotated into position. Power was rerouted away from shields and into cannons that had not fired in centuries. The drones pulled back, clearing the field. Enemy ships hesitated. Some tried to turn away. Others fired in fear, hoping to interrupt whatever was coming next. The human ship answered with silence. Then it fired. Not one weapon. Many. Lines of energy crossed the battlefield in perfect control. Enemy ships did not explode right away. Their systems shut down first. Engines died. Shields collapsed. Power grids went dark. One by one, enemy vessels went quiet, drifting helplessly. The human warship moved among them slowly, almost respectfully, as if deciding their fate. A final message broadcast from the human ship reached every channel, clear and steady. "We warned you." The drones surged forward again. This time, they did not destroy ships quickly. They disabled them completely, leaving them powerless and silent. Crews were spared. Hulls remained intact. The enemy had been defeated without mercy, but also without slaughter. Admiral Kether finally realized the truth. This was not revenge. This was control. The human warship turned slightly, positioning itself fully between the broken enemy fleet and the trapped defense ships. Its massive frame felt protective now, like a wall that could not be crossed. A private channel opened between the human ship and Admiral Kether's bridge. "You are safe," a human voice said. "For now." Kether exhaled, feeling weight leave his chest that he had carried for too long. "Why help us?" he asked. "You owe us nothing." The reply came after a pause. "Because someone asked for help," the human said simply. "And we heard it." The human warship's engines softened, the howl lowering into a steady hum. The battle was not fully over, enemy survivors still drifted in space, and the galaxy would react to this moment soon. But one truth was already clear. The humans were no longer holding back. And the galaxy was about to remember why that mattered. The battlefield looked quiet now, but it was not peaceful. Wreckage drifted like dark snow. Disabled enemy ships floated with dead engines, their lights fading one by one. The trapped defense fleet stayed still, afraid to move, afraid this calm might break. Admiral Kether watched the human warship as if it might vanish the moment he blinked. It hovered in front of them, huge and steady, like a guardian that did not need thanks. But the enemy had not given up. A weak distress pulse suddenly leaked out from the drifting enemy flagship remains. It was not a normal call for help. It carried a coded pattern, sharp and urgent, meant only for a certain kind of listener. Kether's communications officer turned pale. "That signal, it's a rally beacon." "Who would answer now?" Kether asked. Before anyone could reply, space behind the enemy line began to twist again. Not like the human ship's arrival. This was rougher. Dirtier. Like someone tearing open the void with bare hands. A new fleet dropped in. Smaller ships at first. Then larger ones. Then a massive black carrier, shaped like a coffin, covered in jagged armor plates. Symbols burned across its hull in a language no translator could fully read. The enemy had called something worse. Kether's fleet had no strength left. His ships could not even run. Fear returned to every bridge, fast and cold. The human warship moved forward immediately, placing itself between both fleets again. Its engines rose into that deep howl, and the sound felt angry now, like a warning siren. The black carrier answered with a signal that shook every channel. A voice came through, harsh, metallic, and full of pride. "You are not part of this war," the voice said. "Leave, human. Or be erased." The human warship did not reply. It simply powered up. Energy readings climbed, higher than before. The ship's surface lit with glowing lines, as if old scars were waking up. Hidden panels opened along its sides. Long weapons slid out like claws. Admiral Kether's tactical officer whispered, "I've never seen power numbers like that. It's impossible." The black carrier launched its first attack. A wave of dark mines poured into space, hundreds of them, spreading out in a wide net. They pulsed with unstable energy, designed to explode near any engine signature. Behind them, enemy cruisers charged forward, shields high, weapons hot. The human warship moved in a way no one expected. It did not dodge away. It went straight into the minefield. The mines detonated around it like a chain of black suns. Space flashed. Shockwaves hit Kether's fleet even from far away. Several damaged ships rocked and alarms screamed. For a single terrifying moment, the human warship vanished inside the explosions. Then the howl returned, louder than ever. The human ship burst out of the smoke, armor glowing red, but still alive. It was wounded now, finally. Deep lines of damage cut across its outer plates. Small fires flickered on its surface. And yet, it kept moving. The human ship fired a wide beam, sweeping across the minefield. Mines did not explode. They froze, their energy locked in place, then shattered like glass. The enemy's front line faltered. The black carrier reacted instantly. It opened its center bay, revealing a spinning core, an engine that looked like a storm trapped in metal. Kether's sensors screamed. "That's a rupture drive," the navigation officer said. "It can tear open space and pull ships apart." The human ship finally spoke, not to the enemy, but to Kether's fleet. "Stay behind me," the human voice said. Kether's throat tightened. "We can't help you," he admitted. "You don't need to," the human replied. "Just survive." The black carrier activated the rupture drive. Space twisted into a violent spiral. Disabled ships began to drift toward it. Loose debris rushed inward like water down a drain. Even the human warship started to slide, its massive engines fighting to hold position. The enemy thought it had won. Then the human warship changed. Its hull plates shifted, unlocking a second shape beneath the armor. Symbols flared brighter. The howl deepened until it felt like a living roar. A new weapon emerged from the ship's spine, long, heavy, and ancient. It began pulling energy in a way that made reality look thin. Admiral Kether's bridge went silent. Everyone watched, frozen. The human voice returned, calm and cold. "You wanted to see what we saved for the end." The weapon finished charging. And the human warship fired directly into the heart of the rupture drive. Space screamed. Then everything went dark. Darkness did not last long, but it felt endless. For a few seconds, every screen on Admiral Kether's bridge went black. Every sensor died. Even the stars outside seemed to dim, as if the universe had taken a step back to watch what humans were doing. Then the light returned, slow and careful. First, a faint glow crawled across the broken battlefield. Next, the stars sharpened again. Finally, the command screens restarted, one by one, with shaky lines of data. Kether's officers stared at the new readings in disbelief. The rupture drive was gone. Not destroyed in a normal way. Not exploded. It was simply erased. The twisted spiral of space had been cut apart, stitched back into place, and forced to behave. The giant black carrier drifted now, powerless, its core cracked open like a dead heart. Pieces of it floated outward, silent and harmless. The enemy reinforcements had arrived full of confidence. Now they looked lost. Their formation broke apart as panic spread. Some ships tried to flee. Others aimed weapons at the human warship, but none of them fired. They had seen what happened to the last one who tried. The human warship still hovered in front of Kether's fleet. But it was not untouched. Its armor was burned. Several outer plates were missing. One engine pod sparked, unstable, and leaked light into the void. The ship looked old now, ancient, tired, and wounded. Still, it held its place like a wall that refused to fall. Admiral Kether opened a channel again, his voice quiet. "Human warship, you are damaged. Do you need support?" The reply came with a small pause, like the human on the other side was choosing words. "No," the voice said. "We only needed time." Time for what? Kether did not ask. He already felt the answer coming. Across the enemy fleet, command channels lit up with desperate messages. A few captains begged for mercy. Others demanded retreat. Some blamed each other. Their fear was loud now, messy and human in its own way. Then the human warship broadcast on open frequency. Not just to Kether's side. Not just to the enemy. To anyone listening in the system. To any relay. Any hidden probe. Any recording device. The human voice was calm, clear, and heavy like stone. "This is the Terran warship Grief of Dawn," it said. Many in Kether's fleet had never heard that name. Yet the way the voice spoke it made it feel like a tombstone. The human continued. "You attacked a fleet that could not escape. You hunted the weak. You believed no one would answer their call." A pause. "You were wrong." The human warship shifted slightly, and its weapon port stayed open, ready, but not firing. It was a message in itself: we can finish this whenever we want. The enemy flagship, what remained of it, sent one last reply, weak and shaking. "Why, are you here?" This time, the human answered without delay. "Because someone cried for help," the voice said. And humans do not ignore cries in the dark. That sentence hit the battlefield harder than any weapon. The enemy fleet finally broke. Ships turned away. Engines flared. They fled in different directions, not as a plan, but as instinct. They did not even try to rescue their disabled carrier. They left it behind like a corpse they were afraid to touch. The Grief of Dawn did not chase them. It simply watched them run. Admiral Kether felt a strange mix of relief and shame. Relief that his people would live. Shame that it had taken a single human ship to end what his whole fleet could not stop. His communications officer spoke softly. "Admiral, we're receiving incoming signals. Many. From outside the system." Kether looked at the data streams. News relays. Council channels. Civilian broadcasts. Even distant pirate networks. The galaxy had seen the light. Had heard the howl. Had recorded the moment the rupture drive died. Across dozens of star systems, people were watching the same footage, a human warship arriving alone, taking the enemy's best strike, then cutting space itself back into shape. Legends were being born in real time. Kether opened his mouth, but the human voice spoke first, quieter now, meant only for him. "Admiral Kether," it said. Kether stiffened. "Yes." "You held," the human said. That mattered. Kether's eyes burned. He almost thanked them. Almost begged them to stay. But the human warship was already turning. Its engines rose into that deep howl one last time. The void trembled like it remembered fear. A final message echoed across every channel, short, simple, and impossible to forget. "Next time," the Terran voice said, "answer the call before we have to." Then the Grief of Dawn vanished into the dark. And the galaxy, now wide awake, understood the price of underestimating humans. The hunt ended the way it always ended. Not with a victory parade. But with a threat removed so completely that it could never rise again. Weeks later, humanity finally sent a public message, broadcast to every world. It was only one sentence. "Never attack us again." And the galaxy listened. Because the eternal hunt was real. And everyone now knew the worst truth of all. By the time humans speak, it is already too late.